Hello, it's Steve. Welcome back to the channel. I'm at a different location. You might have noticed, some of you. I'm actually in England for a while, so I'm staying at a friend's place here in Wimbledon. So I thought I'd talk today about how a week or so ago I got paid $600 by my bank. I'm going to explain how that happened and how you could get paid lots of money from your bank as well. I think the lesson here is to, with your bank, complain. It really does pay off, unfortunately, to complain to banks. I'm going to go through the process of complaining to banks. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what actually happens. About a week ago, I had an important property settlement, and I thought we had to send. We thought we had some money to transfer from one account to another, and they told us to sign a form, and which we did, and we signed that form and sent it through, and then waited 2 days, and then heard nothing. And then 2 days later, in fact, it wasn't a form; it was just a letter, so a note. And we heard nothing. And then I rang the bank, fearing that this was quite urgent too, by the way, because the property settlement was coming up. I rang the bank fearing that something was wrong, which it was, and someone had actually rang me while I was on the phone and left a message, but didn't actually tell me what the problem was. I then called them back. So that was like an hour on the phone with those two phone calls. And eventually I got a message to say that, in fact, the letter that we'd used wasn't enough. We needed their special form. So we got their special form, signed the special form, sent the special form off. And then a day later, we found out that, in fact, there was no money there at all. They explained to us, in fact, we owed them money. And it was a bit less than $600. You can see where we're going here. So I lodged a complaint online with my bank, which was Bank West. And all I did was just simply, it was a text message system they have. And I just said, look, it's not good enough. I want to lodge a complaint, which they do take it seriously generally. And the following Tuesday, I got a phone call from the complaints chap, and he was very good about it. I went through the whole thing with him, and he basically offered to pay me more than the amount that I just said to him, look, this is not good enough. This amount of money we thought was owed to us, we didn't have. In fact, we owed you a small amount of money. I'm going to tell you, I think maybe just give us that money, because you've just misled us and you've wasted a lot of time at a very stressful time in my life. And the guy, to his credit, did offer me $600, which he paid that day. Now, so generally, what can we learn from this? I often make complaints to banks and financial institutions. I have varying degrees of success. But in this case, it was totally worth it. I felt vindicated. I feel banks don't really understand anything apart from money. I've worked at a bank and they're about money. And it's about accountability too, because they did mess us about quite a bit. Now, when you do make a complaint, one thing to bear in mind is you can generally, if you're not happy with a complaint, you can then take it to the higher body, which in most cases is called AFCA, the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. And sometimes I will basically tell them, if this isn't sorted out, I'm going to go to AFCA. But this case didn't really matter. But that's worth bearing in mind too, because the thing about the complaints process is there's no cost to you, but the complaints process, particularly once it goes to AFCA, is actually borne by the bank. So it might cost them, say, $2,000 just to deal with a complaint, and therefore often settle it. And I'm reminded of how I helped my dad about 18 months ago when he'd lost money through a credit card spam, and it was several $1,000s. And despite the fact that he'd banked with the Commonwealth Bank, by the way, Bank West is owned by the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, makes a lot of money. Despite the fact that my dad's always been loyal to the Commonwealth Bank for his whole life, they just would not help. And it was only when I threatened on his behalf to take them to AFCA that they actually came to the party and agreed to pay back the money. So there is a lesson to you in loyalty to banks. Loyalty to banks and to power companies and the like doesn't really pay off. Unfortunately, these companies do tend to exploit you if you are loyal, and loyalty is not something that they value. So I think if you are being legitimately messed around, don't be frightened to complain. and use the complaints process to your benefit. I've done it many, many times, and I will continue to do so in the interest of improving processes and making me feel better. So now I'm $600 richer, so I feel much, much better for it. So that's it. That's it from me. Greetings from London and peace and love to you all.